Is September the 16th, 2020. The time is 9:00 a.m. Would you please join me in a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Madam Clerk to the board, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith. Clerk to the board Kelly Camper present. And Admin Assistant Kara Evans.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. We will forego audience introductions. If there are folks who want to introduce themselves during public comment, that would be acceptable. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
I have one, sir.
Commissioner Prince, go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to strike
Is this a motion?
I move that we remove the last item of new business, consideration of seating a non-elected Board of Health members.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to strike the last item of business today, consideration of seating a non-elected Board of Health members. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower. Aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Motion carries. That item has been struck. Give me just a second. Any further amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I have none other.
Nor do I.
None here.
Approval of the minutes. I do not think we have any minutes to approve today, so we'll move on. Commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda, would you like to begin?
Yeah, a couple things since our last meeting. We had a tower meeting with the fiber or the tower project. They had to replace the engineer for part of the project. Cost a little more money. Sounded like it was a good deal. Looks like maybe the original bid was probably underbid, probably the problem. But that was rectified and they're moving on now. I see a lot of activity with that new engineer. On the 14th, we had the strategic plan update with Cheryl Trent Monday at 1 o'clock. I thought that went well. We've got to set up get a hold of our old task force members and get them in a committee. And we discussed that during the meeting of getting people engaged again. And so we'll see more of that as time goes on. I thought we had good participation with people that were there. And it sure was good to see some of the things we've already put in work that are on that strategic plan. There's quite a few of them that we found. And then finally, we had the CARES Act meeting where we were looking at the submission for reimbursement. Our first submissions looked good. We had Town of Silver Cliff on the ball with their projects that they submitted for us to consider and put out. That committee, it consists of the two mayors, just so everybody knows, the two mayors and the three commissioners are the committee that distribute the funds that we were given by the state through DOLA for working items that are impacted, the people that are impacted, the businesses, 501(c)(3)s that are impacted by the COVID disease. And then finally, the task force is still in work, meeting once a month now, that are working the impacts of the economic value that work with impacts on the economy of Custer County. Working with Charles Bogle and his team, and they're still doing well. Missed you two guys yesterday, but it went well. Just updated. And from there, that's all I've got for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Prince.
Thank you, sir. On the 8th, I attended the tourism board meeting. Another excellent meeting. They really got their act together. On the 8th, I also attended the Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee. On the 9th, the Tower Committee. Also on the 9th, the Sheriff meeting. It was really a pre-budget discussion. about needs assessment for the sheriff's department in the upcoming year. Of course, we had a special BOCC meeting on the 10th. On the 11th, I attended the Board of Health meeting. On the 14th, we had the strategic plan with Cheryl Trent. I too thought that was a good meeting. And yesterday, we had the Coronavirus Relief Fund meeting. So other than that, I haven't done anything.
All right, sir, thank you. Yeah, I attended basically those same meetings that you gentlemen have mentioned. On the 10th, I attended a Zoom meeting for Small Communities Workshop. There's another one of those meetings this Thursday dealing with land use and water. So I will set in on that meeting. On the 10th of September, I also attended the Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District meeting. That is a combination of hybrid live and a Zoom meeting. I participated by the Zoom option because I had the other meeting that was going to conflict with that. So they continue to move forward with several issues. One being the alluvial storage of water, which I'm still trying to get my mind wrapped around that. Engineers claim that they can account for water being stored underground in some alluvial aquifer. A little above my pay grade, but it'll be interesting to see how that moves. The work on the proposed expansion of the Lake Dewey's Dam continues. They're working with Dewey's Ditch Company to see about increasing. I think the proposed height of that is 4 feet. And then on the 10th, also that day, attended the Republican Central Committee meeting. We held it in the basement of the county building. The Board of Health meeting on the 11th, the strategic plan on the 14th, the Coronavirus Relief Fund meeting that we both had spoke about, obviously attended that as well. So that is my calendar. I do have a couple other items I want to bring up for conversation. One is, as we are aware, we received the invoice for the work at the airport replacing the concrete pad. The fire department has agreed to pay 2/3 of that, and the county has agreed, I guess, to pay 1/3. I guess my question is, where is the $3,800 going to come from to pay for the county share of replacing that pad? I would look to Commissioner Kanda.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. Talk to the board, of course, and they're looking at how their long-range capital plan and money is available because they've got some things funded already. There may be some to put in there from that. And they'll come, my plan is to have them come forward and talk to us about how we're going to fix the problem. And then we'll look toward what funds if we have to supplement it, we will. And that they've got it, and I don't know what the final price is because they just got a new bid based upon the work that the road and bridge guys did, which significantly was a significant amount of work that Hayhead did initially on that initial bid.
So the status at the moment, Bill, is that the front of the hangar where we park it is open, packed, and we're waiting for the concrete to come in. Is that
Yes,
correct?
and I don't know, and they cut the asphalt too to make it a good joint. So I don't, and I haven't been there yet yesterday. I didn't get out there, but
Okay. And
tend to do that this afternoon after our meetings and see.
do you feel the proper place for our share of that, the county share of paying that should come out of the airport budget?
Well, we'll see. I think it can. It depends on what other things. We got to prioritize what their plans are now. They've had to prioritize the things that they had planned to do. This AWAS was inserted in on top of it. So.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused because I thought we were talking about just the cost of fixing the
Correct.
cement
Right.
pad.
That's
That's
right.
what I
So
asked.
the
I'm talking about.
AWOC is not part of that.
No, but my point is they had
Oh,
money.
I see what you want to do. They want to look at their
They've
overall
got to look at
budget.
their budget and see
Got it.
what there is there that can and should be spent this year on what the remaining budget is. And I've talked with both Brian and Lynn about it.
Okay.
So let's see what they come back with and let's see how much money their request is for. I don't know yet.
Okay, and my assumption is, just to make sure I'm right, the county road and bridge did the demolition and the packing and the.
Put in road base,
hang
compacted
on a
it, brought it
second,
up. to
preparation of the pad. And then we're going to hire a third-party company to come in. And the county's not going to charge the airport for the work that the county did. Is that correct? I just want to
Correct.
verify
That's
that.
correct. It's,
Okay,
it's,
that's fine. I just want to verify that.
what they do have to do is log the time that the road crew did put on it. That's what is
Right.
accountable. That's it.
Okay, because sometimes there's an
Just to make-
accounting
it's a
adjustment
booking.
from one division to another just for parity. But I'm fine. I mean, it's all county. It's not an issue. I was just curious
Yeah,
how that
that's
works.
how it works.
That's fine.
Well, the reason I brought it up, my understanding is we've been invoiced for $11,400. The fire department sent us a check for $7,600.
We need
So-
to pay the rest of it.
So my question is directly, where do you anticipate the money coming from?
Like I said,
the
as soon as we see
3,800.
what the other amount is, that's,
What other amount? I'm confused about that.
I want to see what the board has in mind.
The airport board?
The airport board.
Okay,
And then once we understand that, I want to make sure that the $11,000, because that was a money that was allocated before the county did the work. So I need to know it wasn't, if they billed us $11,000, that means the whole cost was $33,000.
no,
No,
That's
No.
not right.
No.
So,
we were invoiced $11,400.
yes.
The fire department wrote us a check for $7,600.
right.
Our share is $3,800.
where's it coming from?
That's,
That is my question.
That's- I'm glad.
Where do you anticipate?
Yeah, I'm
It's
glad.
got to be either general fund or the
and I
airport.
talked to
budget,
Donna, and it
correct.
would be, that's right. And I want to
Or
find out if there's
paraphrase.
anything left in the airport budget from this point to the end of the year. That's what they were going to do, because they probably reprioritized some things already. The taxiway's been done, as well, or will be. And so I want to get with Lynn, and we'll find out how much of that $3,800 we're going to have to find in the general fund, is what I talked to Donna about earlier.
Okay, now, why would it be general fund, our repairs and
Just-
maintenance?
just because
And why would
Donna-
it not, hang on, why would it not be coming from the airport budget?
It should.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
what I just said.
I'm so confused.
We've got to find
Well, we
out.
can't wait till the end of the year to pay the
We're-
bill.
We're not. And that's why
Well, I
said-
thought you said you were going to wait until the end of the year to see
No,
how
I
much
said,
money they had.
no,
I'm
I said they
confused.
are looking at what the year-end budget requirements are from here forward on their plan. That's all I said. And so that will allow us to understand what is there that can be spent on this or on something else that's a higher priority. They have to prioritize that yet.
Well, this one's already done, so they prioritize this as numero uno. If they choose to do something else, but they've already allocated the money for this, the numero uno may have to wait until January of
That's right.
2021.
That is correct.
Okay,
So let me get with them and let's find out
I
what
think
the
that's-
actual cost that the contractor, now that he sees what he has to do.
it's not 3,800.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
All right,
I know
well,
that
I'm
they
not gonna
bid,
look
when
at
they
this.
bid it and they came up with the 11,000, it was including some more that I think they can take out because of the work the county did. That's
Okay.
all I know.
Okay.
Let me get with them and
Uh, Fair enough. You'll report back to us.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we need to give
and I talked to Don
Donna some
about invoicing
direction.
that before the end of this month. We'll figure.
That's fine. I just don't want to hold up the cement company's
No,
bill
they're moving
while
on.
we're working internal mechanisms. That's just not appropriate in
No,
my
they're
opinion.
moving on.
Okay, sounds great.
Other issue I had was that I wanted to bring up, I think we need to start to have a discussion about issuing county credit cards to departments. People continue to pay for county materials and expenses on their personal credit cards. I think that's unacceptable. So I think we need to,
Thought we worked that, did we not say anything to Donna? What, did you?
I did
Did
not.
you talk to her? I think that's a good idea.
so I would request that we put this on the September 30th agenda and that we do some research between now and then to see about moving forward with the issuance of department credit cards.
It goes along with our vehicle policy. What are we doing with it? Yeah, we've gotten some feedback from departments. haven't we?
Well, can we wrap this up? Ms. Kelly, you okay for that issuance of department credit cards? Thank you. And your question was about the vehicle policy?
Yeah, right, because we've gotten some input.
Yes, I've gotten a little input from that. We've not formalized anything. When that's done, I'll bring
We
it back
might
to the
want to
board.
discuss that at the end of the month. Too.
Pardon?
We could discuss that at the end of the month as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Or the 1st of October, either one. I agree.
Yeah, if we're to that point, we can certainly have a discussion on it. I'm not sure we'll have that policy finished by the,
No, but we can get it. I think it's good to discuss it because we can't talk about it any other time.
Right.
that's all I have. Anything else under commissioner items?
No, sir.
Okay. Water Conservancy District report was on the agenda. We had agreed that we would take that off. It was inadvertently left on. I gave my report already. Strategic planning report, Commissioner Canada reported on that during his commissioner items. Anything else to be addressed about the planning report?
If
Go
I may,
ahead, sir.
sir. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we were going to replace Water Conservancy with
Yeah.
coronavirus relief. So
Oh,
maybe
was
it's
it coronavirus
it was strat
relief?
plan.
I thought it was strategic planning.
That's fine.
However, you bring up a good point that maybe that coronavirus relief fund ought to be a standing
That's what I'm thinking.
item as well. Or we put it on an agenda item, either one.
I think we ought to have it on an agenda. item. Just,
I like it as agenda.
That
We
way you
meet
can
every
bring it
week.
in.
We make decisions every week.
have it standing now.
And I think it would be appropriate for us to report to the public what has taken place, how it works, and in case there are questions, maybe they can do. So
Okay.
I wouldn't mind putting that on.
Okay.
And it ought to be put on so that if we had to make some decision, we can.
So an agenda item would be,
Coronavirus Relief Fund Committee report,
yeah, or update or,
whatever.
yeah. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, sir. Thank you for adding that.
None from me.
Attorney items, do you have a can to talk in, sir? Kelly's got her lapel mic over here if you'd like to use it.
I gotta find where I put my.
How you doing, buddy? I'd call you busy signal. I was going to give you an update on where we were, but
All right, since the last meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, as usual, I've worked with Jackie Hobby in planning and zoning. The investigation that's ongoing, which is a Board of Health matter largely, but there also is an aspect of it that could affect the Board of County Commissioners. And Jackie and I have talked about that. The investigation isn't finished yet, so we aren't ready to disclose any additional information to the public. I did attend the Board of Health meeting on the 11th, September 11. There was an executive session that needed to be recorded, and we were caught shorthanded, so it was recorded by our IT director and also by the administrative assistant on their phones on a temporary basis. I've spoken to Vernon, and he is going to transfer all that to a disk and give the disk to me, and I'll keep that disk as required for a period of 90 days. And if there's no request for it, then it can be destroyed. And I just started the review of the draft, the first draft of the proposed amendments to the zoning resolution that Jackie Hobby sent out. So I'll be working on that for a while. That's all I have today.
okay, thank you. Just a point of clarification, sir, whether or not anybody requests through an open records request, the statutes call for us retaining that recording for 90 days, whether somebody requests or not, correct? It doesn't matter.
That's
At
correct.
the end of 90 days, it goes off the record.
Right.
Okay,
So may I?
go ahead, sir.
Council, the purpose of the executive session was to allow us to speak in privacy about a specific issue. Can anybody just ask for a core request and get that information?
No, it has to be, since that was a recorded matter, it's confidential. Somebody would have to actually go to court
In
and
court order.
unless unless the Board of County, or the Board of Health rather, decided, yes, we'll just go ahead and release it. They have that option, but otherwise it would have to be a court order.
Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that for me and the rest of the
Right.
folks.
If I may, council and I had a conversation about this. I think that it is paramount that we make sure we have the ability to record an executive session if it has to be recorded by law. So I know Clint indicated to me that if we don't have something in place to record an executive session, then maybe we not have an executive session. I disagree with that perspective respectfully. There may be times when we don't have a choice. We have to have an executive session. That's all there is to it. We can't say, well, we don't really have a good way to record it, so let's not have it. I think we better get our act together and figure out a good way to record it. I don't know legally who can and cannot record an executive session. Obviously, the clerk to the board or the secretary of the Board of Health, I would assume, would have that responsibility. But I just think we need to be prepared so that we don't get caught short again with that matter. And I haven't had a chance to follow up my thoughts with Clint, so he's hearing this for the first time. But certainly we have recording capabilities on county computers. I'm not sure that that's appropriate or adequate. I don't know, counsel. And then Jay, you had a comment. Did you have something, Clint?
No, I agree. We need to have a protocol in place so we don't get caught like we did last time of not having anybody. And I think in retrospect, it would have been better for somebody to record it on a county computer than on personal cell phones. And that's why I'm having Vernon transfer it to a disk.
It was still recorded on,
My brother.
on the county. I think it was Vern. Didn't he? I thought Vern left.
Vernon and Kara
No,
both did it
cell
on their
I know he
phones.
left. I know it was a cell phone.
We
but I
have a
thought it was
distraction here from Ms. Hobby.
maybe.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Prince. Even in light of all the distractions, certainly I want to recognize you as an opportunity to speak. We have a squirrel running
There's a
up and down your
chipmunk
screen
behind your
right behind
back.
our chipmunk, yeah.
He came to say hello. It's my friend. Leave him alone. Probably out of order, but I'm going to do it anyway. I move that we authorize Vern up to $300 out of the general fund to buy a standalone recording instrument that will solve council's needs and just have it here in the room. So in the event we have a need for it, it is available to us. This is a $10 million.
Is that a motion, sir?
That's a
Is
motion.
there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize IT up to expend up to $300 on a recording device. Now we could certainly have some discussion.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to say, I don't even remember what I was going to say.
You're going to
I
say
was
it's a
gonna
good
say,
idea
this
is
just
what you're going to
makes
say.
sense to do this. I mean, we're a large organization. To be caught short with our pants down like we were, and I'm the cause of that. I take full responsibility, but I think that would be the solution for the future. We just keep it in the room and use it as we need it.
Agreed, counsel, your opinion on that?
Well, that would be fine as long as it's that would be an official record that would
Right.
satisfy the statutory requirements.
Not floating around on individual cell phones and
And as soon as Vernon gets me that disc, then I will have Vernon and Kara both erase that recording
Right.
from their
Yes.
personal phones.
typically it's not an issue in the Board of County Commissioners because we have an official clerk and recorder.
Right.
The issue really shows up at other times. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Motion carries. I know Vern is listening, so we'll move forward with that. Thank you, sir. And I think I've got this right. Administrative assistant items.
I'm waiting.
That would,
My
no,
bated
that's
breath.
next on the agenda. You're good? Okay. Public comment. If you have a desire to have public comment to the commissioners, now would be the appropriate time to do that as long as it is not pertaining to an item that is on the agenda. So with that, I will first go to our visitors who are in person standing in the hallway. Gentlemen, would you care to have public comment?
My headphones are not working.
Nope, we're good. Go ahead.
I would like to know what
Hey, will
is,
you introduce yourself, please?
Jim McMahon.
Yes, sir.
We were concerned about what was going on with the coronavirus and the enforcement of the mask wearing.
Okay.
If there was some rumor going around, or is that something that may get mandated, or you're gonna get a committee installed on that, or?
Not that I'm aware of. I think that's the rumor mill.
This is the Board of Health issue also.
Yeah, it would be.
There's a Board of Health meeting right after this. You can ask that question there and we can get the public health director to answer that.
So that's where,
That would be the appropriate place to
And-
introduce.
you guys
that.
don't have any.
There is,
insight
that
on
is a.
No.
No, yeah, he has a plan, a strategic plan that is to make the masks available, and you need to hear what it is. There's no, it's not a mandated, it's trying to live up to the orders of the governor
I
without.
can't hear a thing.
Well, I can hear a bit.
I can't hear a thing.
Come to the,
That's
come
our
to the-
concern,
come-
is living up to the
well,
expectations of the
that's right,
governor.
but that's why you need to hear what he's got to say.
That's the agenda for?
Okay,
Okay.
other public comment? Thank
I
you,
was
sir.
gonna ask
Yes.
too about the Upper Arkansas, the alluvial water
Yes.
containment.
Yes.
So when we talk about aquifers, we talk about water structure that holds water, correct?
Yes.
So is alluvial like sand and gravel, or is it a crack in granite?
The intent is that it's a void in whatever structure's there. I think they assume it's going to be granite, given the location of where they're talking about. But I'm not sure that that's a deal breaker on that, as I understand it. They believe they can quantify how much water is going into the alluvial storage vessel, wherever that is, whatever it looks like, and then scientifically account for that water when they pump it out of the Arkansas River.
So that was my concern, is we're pretty alluvial.
Yeah.
Alluvial's basically sand and gravel, I believe. And it really holds a lot of water, correct? As opposed to solid rock.
Yes,
I mean, it's pretty.
Sure,
I'm just
yeah,
a cowboy.
sure.
That's
Rock-
how I'm looking at it.
rock's not porous enough to store water.
There you have it.
So I think, and again, a lot of this is engineering stuff that they don't divulge at these meetings. You kind of got to read between the lines. But because I'm not a member of that board, I sat in on it as ex officio member, so I'm not entitled to all the documentation that they are. But
You just indicated that it kind of was over your pay grade on maybe what they were talking about, and I thought, I know a little bit about it. and,
Right.
Not a lot, but a touch.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
sure ain't no
and
engineer.
that's where I'm at. I'm
But
not
it's
an
pretty
engineer.
Simple rock formation, different rock formations hold a different amount of water.
Right.
So it's very critical. on
Yeah.
How they represent that.
Yeah, and that's what they're in. That's why they're paying them all the money they are to these engineers. I'm a little dubious about it myself. If they say we're going to let 1,000 acre feet of water
Sorry.
percolate into the ground through a storage vessel, and then we're going to go downstream and pump that 1,000 acre feet out at some point. Okay, they're talking 10 years for that water to migrate a certain distance. So it's,
About 9.5.
yeah.
I don't know.
So I appreciate your questions, and I'm certainly not qualified to get into the engineering and all of that of it. I'm trying to glean out I hear. Probably won't be a lot here unless they want to use some of Custer County's water somewhere along the way, exchange it upstream and store water there and pump it somewhere else. Who knows? I don't know that. This whole, yeah, the intent is to use an underground alluvial reservoir versus building an above ground reservoir that has to get permitted and stands a lot of evaporation loss.
So that could affect individual wells.
Up here, no, I don't believe so. No. It depends on what they do with the capabilities that come out of that. If they say we're going to exchange water, they can't harm water right holders. Individual well owners are not individual water right owners, by the way. So I don't think there's going to be a huge impact up here. The whole idea of this exchanging water up and down the Arkansas district is a little intriguing to me. It's a paper chase, basically. They're going to trade water on paper. We all know water's not going to flow uphill unless somebody puts a pipe in, which they did in Pueblo, of course. But I just don't think it's going to be a significant impact to Custer County, this alluvial storage thing. As you know, it's almost impossible to get a big reservoir permitted this day and age. So they're looking at options. Where else can we store water besides in a reservoir above ground? Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, let me
Cannon.
make a comment too. What was your name? I missed it.
Jim,
Jim,
man.
okay, I thought it was Jim. We have, excuse me, a group that we've been going separately to the water board meetings that are in reference of the Blue Line Committee that they have any impacts of the water that's been in the past. Part of that, and we haven't had an update, and we're planning on going back soon. And they also have brought up other things like some suggestions on how they might want to expand the West Lake, for example, and other water things that impact us. So I'll send out, and I'll make sure you're on the address. I don't know if you have been in the past.
I haven't.
But
I know about it, but I just haven't, I'm too busy.
why don't you write down your email address and give it to Kara in the back there, and then we'll make sure you're invited to that. And they're very good about sitting with us and answering any question that comes up. And that would be, take the middleman out.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Appreciate it. Sir?
Hi, my name is Don Fletcher, and I live west of town and do a lot of recreational activities on all these roads out here. And the roads are just terrible. Total washboard. The one going down the Music Pass is darn near impassable, like 2 or 3 miles an hour. And I know there's been a tremendous amount of traffic because of the COVID thing. People are going outside. So when we get graders out there, but it only lasts like 10 days.
Right.
What about oiling those roads so that they stay firm longer, and it might reduce our overall?
Okay.
The plan is to oil every little road in the county. It's just a matter of when, and it's a matter of money. And so Gary Hyde is prioritizing those things, and he is working toward that end to chip seal it if we can. But in the meantime, they're dirt roads here, and it's just something we have to work with, and appreciate your comment. We also have an issue with 323 right now, which is, they were up there on Rosita Road, and I got a comment on it yesterday, and it said, look, how come they didn't finish the job? So it's very hard. The road and bridge have to grade roads that equal the miles from here to Albuquerque. So
I know we have a lot of dirt roads,
Yeah.
but I just got to thinking, rather than redo them all the time, maybe we can make them last longer.
Commissioner Kent, Prince, you had a comment?
I was just going to say, mag chloride helps a lot also, and we're working on a program to put mag chloride. It's actually mag chloride substitute, but it works similar to that, and that holds it down for a long time. But according to Gary, I'm not a road expert, but according to Gary Hyde, our expert, the biggest cause of the washboarding is speed. So if I don't control this and we have a hard time with it, but if folks would just slow down, the washboards would be much, much more contained. So just a thought. If you have a specific road that's in just terrible shape and you need help immediately, you're welcome to call Gary Hyde or call Bill, and we'll see if we can maybe move it up on the
Fortunately, where I live, they're pretty active and the roads stay fairly good.
good.
It's just some of the ones that I go
Mhm.
to recreate,
Yeah.
notice were awful. Couldn't
It's the
hurt to ask.
Yeah, no,
Well, thank you very much.
you
for your time.
certainly, yeah, you're
Living
welcome.
in a
Appreciate it.
mountain
Anytime.
community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other public comment?
I have a question.
Go ahead, identify yourself.
My name is Valerie Sherdahl, and I'm a Custer County resident. Just listening in this morning, it's very convoluted listening to all of you. Some of you have very gravelly voices, and it's very hard to hear. And I'm just wondering when you'll be having in-person meetings again.
Yeah, this is Chairman Flower. Answering that question would be like trying to answer when the next snowfall is going to happen.
Why would that be?
Well, because we have no idea the length of time with the impact of COVID.
Well, that's my point. Yesterday, I participated in a jury trial across the hallway from you, and that seemed to go well. It had at least 20, maybe 25 people in the room.
Yes. Certainly their room is much larger than the commissioner's boardroom.
Why don't you go across the hall and use their room?
They have court in there frequently.
They haven't had court since, as I understand it, from the judge since March.
That's incorrect. They may not have had a jury trial, but I sit right here in this office every day and observe what goes on in the courtroom.
And you're unable to find other rooms of that size where you could do social distancing?
We have not looked into that. It's a possibility. One of the reasons
that would be a high priority, I would think, just for the betterment of communication between you and the public you represent.
Okay, thank you. Other public comment?
Beverly Shirtall, I think. Say your name, Beverly, for the record.
It's Valerie.
Or Valerie, if
Other public comment?
she asked for her name.
We've certainly been criticized for not allowing enough time for everybody to get unmuted and respond for public comment. So if you're on the call today and you have something to say, now would be a good time.
I say, Mr. Commissioner, that we'll have another public comment period at the end. So if someone's having trouble unmuting, they'll have an opportunity.
Okay. Any other public comment? We'll move on. Staff reports. Jackie, you have the floor. Thank you for your report in advance. Appreciate that.
Hold it close.
Hi, guys. I need to appoint another, we need to get another appointment for the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Mike Carter slipped my mind that he had left, and I didn't realize it at the time, and we appointed another replacement. I usually ask my associate members to participate and see which one associate members wants to move over to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. So I will be doing that in the next month or two. The Board of Zoning Adjustment does not meet that frequently. We met September 8th. The Board of Zoning Adjustment did for a multi-dwelling variance, which was denied, but that was probably the first time in a year or more. The Custer County Planning Commission held 2 workshops to address the short-term rentals and other corrections that need to be made in the current zoning resolution, the 2018. We're now at the public hearing stage. You should have got the red lines. You got attachment with all the red lines. Those are our proposed changes. Plus you got the 2018 document with the red lines in them. September 28th from 1:30 to 3, and then September 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. And these meetings are in the courtroom where we practice social distancing and also required to wear a mask. The reason why is the court is not attached to this building. They are attached, but they're a whole different entity. We follow their rules. So in my public notice, I did state that seating would be limited. So we do have it where it'll be, you can get it on your phone, and I included the numbers on my public notice. But once we are full, then I'm going to have to be turning people away. But it is imperative that the commissioners do come to these public hearings. I'm not saying both days, but you should show up to one of the days and listen to, and Jay can attest to this because Jay has gone to public hearings that the Planning Commission has held. And then you get to see what people in your community are thinking about the changes.
Say those dates again for everybody. and
Okay.
times.
So the first time will be September 28th from 1:30 to 3 o'clock in the courtroom. And then September 29th from 6 PM to 8 PM.
Ask a question, please. Because we may have to turn some people away, have you given consideration to also Zoom the meeting so those folks who may not be able to be in the audience will have a visual of what's going on?
Actually, I don't think I did Zoom them. I think I just did I don't know if, the problem is the courtroom does not have a phone. So we have to use our cell phones.
I see.
So that's how come we have the call in and stuff.
Okay.
That's how I've been doing all my other planning
Okay.
commission. And I don't know if that makes a difference with Zoom, but also being at night, I didn't feel that there would be any different than what I have been doing and I didn't want Vernon to have to come back in.
Got it. Thank you.
Jackie, I did not cross-reference both of those documents, the red line and the final version of the zoning adjustment or the zoning rate resolution, sorry. The final draft you sent us included the red line changes, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Uh,
I've got
it's-
both here. I just haven't.
Yeah,
gone
and
through
it
them side
should
by
be
side.
because what I did was we copied all the, Laura copied all the changes, all the red lines, just individually copied those so that you didn't have to look through that whole
Right.
book because you might see a definition that we added or changed and then go pages and pages to find another red line.
Right. Okay. Okay, good. Gentlemen, are you in a position to commit to attend one of those two meetings?
I've previously committed to the day meeting on the 28th.
I can do the 29th that I planned.
Okay. All right. I will probably attend the one on the 29th. Right now, I'm scheduled to be out of town on the 28th.
Ditto.
Okay, very good. What else, ma'am?
And as was stated by the attorney, I am in no position right now to make any comments concerning an ongoing investigation.
Okay.
I also, last time we met, gave copies of all the violation letters. And so this time I just totaled them. So we had a total of 41 violation letters, but they're also kept on a file, in case you have any people call and comment about, I got this letter, then you can come see what the letter states. Also, if it's a very important letter, I also send it to the attorney.
Just for clarifications, 41 total have gone out or 41 just went out in the last short period of
41 total.
time? Total, thank you.
No, just since July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any indication as to when this purported investigation will end?
I'm hoping My part, I can comment on. I'm hoping by one more week. The problem is the other company I'm dealing with to get it out of Custer County.
Yeah.
The other is in another department, 2 other departments, and basically was asked not to comment because I'm messing them up on their
That's fine.
investigation.
We'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you for that update.
Okay, and then, but I would like to be, I believe I'll be ready, but I would like to be probably at the end of the month. That's what I'm shooting for. Your next board meeting at the end of the month.
September 30th, you saying you want to be on the agenda or?
But
you-
I will get with Kelly if all the pieces come together, then I will get with Kelly.
Great.
But that's
For-
what I'm anticipating.
To wrap it up, tell us what's going on.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
No. I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in.
You did see your, I'm sorry, you did see your papers on the month of August. The 16 septic inspections and the money and how many permits are going out. Like, in the month of August, last year in 2019, we had 12 septic permits.
I
We're
do
up to
not have
20.
that in my board packet.
You do not, it should be at the end.
If you keep going down,
If
Yes,
it's
that-
part of your,
part of her.
okay,
It's
yes.
part of hers at the very end.
So then you'll see that we had 24. And then we're up 5 dwellings. Now, this is just the month. So on septic permits from January to the end of August, we had 70 for 2019. We have 96 for 2020. We had 69 dwellings last year at this time, and now we have 79.
Is dwelling a residence or is dwelling could be a barn?
No, dwellings is a residence.
Residence, okay, thank you.
We started separating them a couple years ago,
Yeah, I thought we
remember?
did, I just didn't remember. Good,
Okay, that's it.
thank you.
Okay, other questions for Mrs. Hobby?
I'm good, thank you.
You got it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jackie.
See ya.
Any unfinished business, gentlemen?
Nothing from me.
Nor do I.
I have none.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. We'll allow public comment for each item if it's an action item prior to voting. So with that, we will start with consideration of transferring a sheriff's vehicle to the Veterans Service Office. Is Mr. John out there? Come in, sir. How are you? Good, welcome.
morning,
You
sir.
sit wherever you're comfortable.
Wherever.
Hand him the mic.
All right, so as I've said before, I was trying for a grant for the Veterans Trust Fund or the Veterans Assistance Grant. Did some research and actually talked to the grant administrator. If I did apply for that grant and got a vehicle, it would only be allowed to be used for VA appointments only, which is not what I need. I have my mileage report for the last 30 days. I have done 262 miles in the last 30 days. The month of September, I'm already up to 180 miles.
Wow.
The issue for me is not, the fuel costs. It's the fact that I'm, putting the wear and tear on my personal vehicles. And as we know, most of our veterans like to live very remote. So I am driving on roads that I would prefer not to have to drive on. So what I'm looking at doing is Currently, the county has two vehicles. They have an Astro van and a GMC Yukon that both came from the sheriff's department. My understanding is neither one are being used at this time. I am willing to take either one. Both of them are all-wheel drive. My understanding is the Yukon has a lot more miles. My eventual goal, if the sheriff does turn over a pickup truck, I need a pickup truck. This Saturday alone, I hauled over 1,000 pounds of food from Pueblo in my own truck. So a pickup truck is, what I would have been shooting for as far as getting a grant for a new vehicle.
So you're looking for a grant that'll allow you to do those things? Is that what you're doing?
Well, what
John?
I'm looking for is a grant that will allow me to buy a vehicle that
You
I
can
can
use
use, for not just VA
for the whole
appointments.
mission.
Yeah, because I mean, as you know, I mean, I drive to veterans' homes, especially during COVID with veterans not wanting to come in. As the volunteer coordinator for the county, I've driven, additional miles as far as hauling food and things like that out to people, that are requesting assistance.
What was the
Um,
grant that was so restricted? What was
The
it?
grant that I was looking at was the Veterans Assistance Grant. The Veterans Trust Fund is what we use for, helping veterans with firewood and things like that.
Okay.
I cannot apply for the Veterans Trust Fund grant. That has to be a 501c3. The Veterans Assistance Grant, as a government employee, I can apply for that. But, even if I went into the gray area as far as, using the vehicle, off of, what the state requires, I don't want to put, myself or the county in a liability.
Did you talk to them, or
situation.
is that just how you interpreted it?
No, I actually talked to
So
the grant
they were pretty
administrator.
strict about it.
And she said, absolutely, there are counties that, are doing that, but it is against the guidelines of the state. And I don't want to go down that road. So I'm going to continue to look for grant money for a new vehicle, but in the meantime, I could certainly use some assistance as far as getting out of my own vehicles. Yes, sir.
Couple questions, if I may. When you use your own vehicle, are you reimbursed for the mileage on that? Okay.
And I
That's fine.
haven't been consistent about it, but I finally found a mileage app that is able to be, much more
User friendly.
user friendly. And that's the big thing for me, is because half the time I get in my vehicle, I forget to press the button to track that I'm on.
My second question is, have you discussed with the sheriff's department either of the vehicles that he's not using to allocate to you instead of him?
He has, my understanding, I talked with the sheriff yesterday, is he has already turned over those two vehicles to the county. And they are,
Correct.
county property at this point, so he's already turned them over. He has no issue with it. And I did tell him yesterday that if he is going to deadline a pickup truck, then I would like to be first in line as far as that. Because, like I said, that's my eventual goal, is for a pickup truck.
There's no
Yeah,
reason why we couldn't.
I spoke to the sheriff's office concerning this. Both those vehicles that John mentioned have been stripped out. They are ready to go.
Do you want a motion to that
Yes.
effect?
Yeah.
I move that we authorize whichever vehicle you feel most comfortable with. One of the two vehicles, either the Yukon or the Astro van, and allocate it from the county to VSO for VSO's use.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to authorize the transfer of either of the aforementioned vehicles from the county inventory, specifically to the Veterans Service Office of your choosing. I believe both of those vehicles are down at Road and Bridge in their yard. So I would say, if this motion passes, you would have the authority to go down there and ask for the keys and take over possession and start using it. Further discussion, gentlemen? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. Commissioner Kenda,
Hi.
Mr. Flower votes aye, Commissioner Prince
Aye.
opposed, motion carries.
John, thank you.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Yes,
Oh, thank
we
you.
will, hopefully, we will get some traction on getting each department a credit card that you can purchase gas with if you cannot get into the road and bridge yard to get fuel. But we have that on the agenda for the end of the month. All
Thank you,
right, sir.
gentlemen.
Thank you, John. Thanks for coming in too.
Have you looked at those two cars yet? Have you seen them?
Had an opportunity, so.
It's like one might haul more than the other.
I realize they may be a little bit towards the end of their life. But
Right.
At this point, I am.
Sure.
willing to-
They're in good
Well,
shape.
we appreciate it. Thank you
For
for
the
being
shape they're
willing
in,
to
they're in
do
good
that.
shape.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Next item of business, consideration of the Francis Xavier Cabrini Day. What's group's pleasure?
Why is it on the agenda? I know why. We need a little more understanding. Is it the state passed the holiday, got rid of Columbus Day, right? Is that
Correct.
right? And are they expecting the counties to act on something now?
Well,
Why is it on our?
We would need to change our.
number one, it's on our agenda because it's now a recognized state holiday. We had the recognized state holiday of Columbus Day on October the 12th.
Right.
This is now October the 5th, so we need to amend the holiday calendar for the county.
Okay, that's a better explanation. I understand now why it's on there. Thanks.
So I would move to amend the county holiday schedule to strike October the 12th and insert October the 5th. If that will be my motion for right now. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to strike October the 12th as a holiday and insert October the 5th. Discussion? Yes, sir.
I think we should not change our holiday schedule this year simply because employees may have figured that into holiday vacations and things like that. And it may create a disaster with their plans. So I would recommend we make it effective when we do the calendar in January, or when you guys do the calendar in January.
There's a smile back here.
I saw it.
Okay.
Okay,
Further discussion?
Yeah, I personally object to changing Columbus Day to anything personally. State.
Well, it's just
not
the
our-
date.
I know.
It's, gentlemen, it is
choice.
just the date we're discussing
I
right
understand.
now.
I agree with you,
I can
but
make the
it's the
statement.
date that I'm concerned about if
Right,
potentially
and
some of our folks
I
may have
like
had
your idea,
plans.
Jay. I think that's a reasonable thing to do personally.
Yeah, and I'm going to take the opposite side of that opinion. I believe we do need to change this. This is a statewide change. Every government entity, not every, but probably 90% of the government entities that Kelly and I looked at have or are going to make this change. And to your point, Commissioner Prince, I think that we do need to change it to be in line with other entities and the impacts on their families and their holidays. If we are one of 3 or 4 entities left that stayed on the 12th and the rest of the state went to October the 5th, and your family wanted to come here and spend that day with you, you'd have to be at work. So
Certainly a valid argument. It's just one side versus the
Right.
other. So
There's probably another argument that says it's a business day for everybody else and all our guys are gone.
Well, no,
If
it's-
somebody had to
no,
call the
it's state
courthouse here
holiday.
on-
state holiday,
I
so
know. So, on the 12th is my point. We would be closed if what you're saying is what you want to do, right?
I don't know. I'm just concerned about
That would
people's
be an issue.
schedules. This is just thrown on us. It's less than a month away. But if it's state mandated, I don't think we have much choice other than to just move forward with it. I mean, I'm not in favor of it, but I'll probably vote for it because I do what the state tells me.
yeah, I
In
think
most cases.
to
You're not
your
always
point,
up.
Commissioner Candy, you're saying that if we don't change it, October the 12th, we will be closed.
Right, we would be closed in
Correct.
theory, and then somebody might be wanting to get us from Chaffee County
doing business.
because they may be open
That's
and
right.
closed
They
on
would
the
be open.
5th. That's right. I'm just thinking we'll be out of sync with a lot of the other. I'm going to defer to Kelly for a comment or an opinion about this. We have talked about it. Your thoughts, ma'am?
I think we should take a vote.
That was,
Love you.
that was the last thing she said as I was walking out of her office. She never got a comment back, so.
You know, when you say it was just thrown on us, it really
No,
wasn't.
January.
Because it was passed back in the early part of the year. But I
sneakily.
discovered it when I got an updated holiday calendar from the state. I thought they were just changing the name. I didn't realize they were changing the
I did
whole
too,
date.
when I stopped.
And so then
I was
that's when I
surprised.
told Tom we
Right.
better put it on the agenda. It's gonna be weird this year anyway, because people are gonna be expecting us to be closed on the 12th and open on the 5th, and they're gonna come in, we're gonna be closed. But there's gonna be some that are vice versa too, so it's gonna be a weird year.
Probably ought to put
I
it in the
think-
paper.
I think we ought to just change now and get on the same page with everybody else. And
Yeah, House Bill 1031 was signed into law on March 20th. So certainly I was totally ignorant of this.
Me too.
We were all diving
So,
for cover.
I
No
just,
idea.
it's kind of weird because when Tom and I looked it up, because we Googled it, because we were curious, there's a lot of states that are still doing Columbus Day. There's some that are doing Indigenous Peoples Day. There are some that are doing other days. And so,
right. Yeah, so the motion was to move from the 12th to the 5th. I just, again, would reiterate, I think we need to fall in line with what most of Colorado is going to do. Further discussion? Public comment? Go ahead, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry. So we're going to eliminate, what was the one we're eliminating?
Well, that has not been decided yet. The state has eliminated Columbus Day.
Okay.
Yes,
So we need to conform to the state.
most likely. We'll see how things
Otherwise,
go
it's
this
gonna
morning.
cause Discord.
I would guess, yes.
Doing business with the other counties.
Well, particularly the dates. It doesn't, in my mind, whatever somebody chooses to call it, doesn't matter. It's what date it occurs on. And that's what we're talking about here. Whatever you did, Commissioner Prince,
Stop it.
you're about
I
to
have a
get your hand slapped.
I'm just frustrated because
I know.
it's not working. I'm
Can-
fine. I apologize for the echo. That was my
It's
fault.
okay, no problem. So right now, we're just concerned about changing the date. We'll probably
date of
get
this-
to the
Of
name
the
here in a minute.
holiday for the county is what we're talking about.
All right,
So you're
Other-
gonna just gotta play along with it, huh?
that's
Gotta be
kind of
like-
my
I don't
opinion.
think we have a choice
Just
personally.
Can
submit to it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, governor signed it into law. Other
Somebody's
public
asking
comment?
for a comment.
Yes. My name's Lisa Frank. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So the governor just signed an executive order to change that holiday away from Columbus Day to what day?
The governor signed a piece of legislation moving the date from October the 12th to October the 5th.
Not me.
Xavier Cabrini Day is what it is.
That's correct. Did that answer your question, Lisa?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. This Zoom phone. Can you hear me?
Yes, did that answer your question?
I couldn't hear it. I tried to take my phone off speaker and
Okay.
it cut me off.
It was not an executive order. The governor signed into law a piece of legislation on March 20th to, let me get the wording, to change Columbus Day to the establishment of this Francis Cabrini Day and change the date from October 12th, which is the second Tuesday in October, or Monday, to October the 5th, which is. the
Pardon
first
me,
Monday.
pardon me. This
Is
is
this
Valerie
Lisa?
Sherdahl again.
Okay, well, Valerie, just hold on a
I
second.
wasn't finished.
We can't hear what you're saying. You're echoing, all of you.
Thank you. Lisa, did that answer your question?
Well, yes, but I have another. And
Go
that
ahead.
is, what was the logic with from our governor that we would remove Columbus Day? Is this all about racism?
I have no idea. I can read you the piece of legislation if you want, but
Only if you put in there the reason for getting rid of Columbus Day. Did he give a reason?
Section 1, paragraph B says, although Christopher Columbus is recognized as a voyager who arrived in what is now known as the Caribbean Sea, he never traveled to or entered the territory that became the United States. He had no knowledge of or contact with the area now known as the state of Colorado, providing no rationale for a Colorado state holiday in his name.
This is a federal holiday, isn't it?
Pardon me?
Isn't Columbus Day a federal holiday?
I think
Yes,
this is
it
beyond the
is.
Scope of this
So
discussion.
why is the state of Colorado changing a federal holiday just because he didn't land in Colorado?
Yeah, you'd have to talk to the state legislators about that.
She brings up a good point, though. It is a federal holiday. And
It's a
all
federal
these
holiday. I don't know
federal
why we
holidays,
would be.
we're gonna have two of them.
Yeah.
In fact,
Are we gonna have
the
Columbus Day
county
and
agreed
All
Thanksgiving?
right,
still
hold on. We
recognizes-
got all kinds of stuff going on here. I'm sorry, Lisa. Commissioner Kander was speaking while you were speaking. So go ahead and finish and then I'll recognize Commissioner Kander.
Thank you. So it is a federal holiday. There will be Columbus Day, if I'm not mistaken. So we will now be having two holidays. We'll have a state holiday on the 5th and a federal holiday on the 12th. Because the federal holiday did not go away.
I can't speak to that.
Well, who can? Kelly? Can Kelly? Don't we fall under federal law as well?
We observe some federal holidays, yes.
We don't observe all federal holidays?
Well, I guess it would depend on is Christmas a federal holiday?
We do observe all federal holidays.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah.
I think that before counties should change just because the governor decides whether or not Christopher Columbus landed in Colorado, which is ridiculous, then I think that it should be researched if there's still going to be a federal holiday. This is now two holidays in 1 month where employees that we pay with taxpayer dollars are off and being paid for it. I just would like to know the answer to that question and I'll be done.
My perception is that if we vote to move this from October the 12th to October the 5th, that will be the holiday that this county recognizes and those employees would be off on that day.
And what if an employee says, hey, it's a federal holiday, I don't have to come in on the 12th?
County would recognize the 5th as that holiday, not the 12th.
So the state can overrule the federal.
Go ahead, Kelly has a comment.
Lisa, so always the county has always followed the state holidays, which most of them, I believe, are federal holidays. And they pass the holiday calendar in January every year of what holidays we're going to get for that year. And so that's kind of how our holidays get set. When this got changed during the legislative season this year, or legislative session this year, I just brought it up to Tom that I didn't even realize they changed the date. I thought they just changed the name. And so that's how this all got put into place. We're not going to get two holidays. It's just a holiday that got changed.
Okay, I think my question still stands that has anybody researched that the fact that that's a federal holiday, has anybody researched that?
Yes.
Commissioner Kanda, go ahead.
Clint, what do you know about whether a county is obligated to follow federal holidays or state holidays or any
Should get some
holidays.
microphone, please.
Do we have the flexibility to pick and choose holidays? Are we obligated?
I didn't even know about this until I heard it today, that the legislature had changed it, so I don't really have any legal opinion right now.
Yeah, it's a good
Okay.
point. It seems to me that, why do we have
Call for
federal
the
holidays?
question.
Are all states obligated to take them? I don't think so. They can take them
No,
if they want.
Arizona, for example, doesn't
Right.
follow Martin Luther King Day.
Right.
So states can choose to follow federal holidays, or I guess not to, and apparently that's what
I'm
Colorado's
betting
chosen to do.
Counties can also choose to.
I'd
I'd like to know what the
counties-
penalty would be. If you
Counties
didn't.
don't have the authority to go against state law.
Right.
And
So-
this is a state law now, so the county is obligated to follow the
But
state
we could
law.
also follow the federal if we wanted to.
I guess you can have two holidays,
If you
but
wanted to.
you're going to have banks closed on October 5th, not October 12th. I don't know what the school, I guess the school doesn't take
They
off
do
on
not.
That's
that
right.
date
Some
anyway.
don't follow that's
But
right.
it's going to be interesting.
Well, and I would comment, regardless of what everybody thinks, the county is a political subdivision of the state of Colorado. As much as people would like us to be autonomous and do our own thing, I think you're exactly right. We are bound to follow Colorado law.
That's right.
Further discussion
So,
or public, I'm sorry, further public comment?
I'll just say, so if Colorado State Legislature says, oh, I don't know, everybody can't drive on a certain day, are we obligated to follow that?
Yes, just like we would be if they said everybody's got to wear a seatbelt.
Right.
Other
Thank
public
you.
comment?
No more.
Ms. Sherdahl, were you interested in having a public comment?
Real problem is just noise issue. The only thing I would add is we have to follow state law. There's no question about that. The other issue is we can always recognize Columbus Day if we want to as a token. And we could have a resolution to do that, like we do resolutions to acknowledge, what is it, Brownie Day that people have, or National Brownie Month or whatever. So
Further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on the motion, which is to change the October 12th holiday date to October 5th. Commissioner Kanda.
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Commissioner Prince.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That holiday has been changed from October the 12th to October the 5th. I will amend the, give me just a second, sir, if you don't mind. And as I know, Kelly will also amend that holiday schedule.
Just a suggestion, we send out an email to the county notifying them of the change as soon as possible in case they have plans. It's only a couple of weeks away.
And who would you like to have do that, sir?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
yeah, it's too bad we didn't all shorts, didn't see this before when it actually happened. It's too bad.
Can
We
I
should have been
request
part
a
of that.
5-minute?
Yeah, without objection, we'll be in recess for 5 minutes. Friendly reminder. I guess the ensuing conversation that we probably need to have then is this county going to go along with the name change that the state has selected for this holiday?
Or we could just recognize the 12th as Columbus Day. It's not a day off. It's something it's a federal holiday.
Yes, sir.
I would really like legal counsel to tell us if we even have the authority to do that, if it's a state mandate, if it's state law. I mean, I
Clearly,
would-
it is a state law changing that holiday to Cabrini Day.
And that's why I'm saying to even have this discussion, are we legally, do we have the legal authority to do that is my question.
It seems to me, just listening to the conversation, what they did is establish a new holiday. The federal holiday for Columbus Day still exists. We can, it's a state holiday, fine, it's on our calendar.
But that's not the question on the table. The question is, do we want to recognize Xavier Cabrini Day, or do we want to change it? Was that correct?
I don't think we can.
Okay, counsel.
It has nothing to do with Columbus. You know who she is? She was
Some nun.
a nun that did a lot of things for families, good things, and it's probably a good thing to have recognition. That's fine. They can set up a state holiday
Is that a motion?
to do what?
Change the name to Cabrini Day.
Well, that's what it is. I think we're not changing it. Why would we change it? That's what the state.
Well, because it's on our calendar as Columbus Day.
No, the
Yes,
Columbus
it
Day
is.
still exists. We just said we acknowledge that we're going to be open or closed on that new holiday.
The state of Colorado, Columbus Day does not exist. It is Francis Cabrini Day.
And so that's what it is. We have no option not to recognize that as that day, but we can still recognize the 12th as Columbus Day if we want to. It's a federal holiday. We don't recognize it to close the courthouse. If we wanted to do it as a token, we can do that.
I guess my question to
That
you
was not
gentlemen
the
is, do you
question.
believe we should leave Columbus Day on the holiday or change it to Cabrini Day?
I don't think you can
We can't do that.
You can't do what? Is my question.
The state established a holiday called.
I'm
Cabrini
very
Day,
aware of that. I've
period.
read the whole law. Yes, sir.
So it is. That's what it is. We just are
Chair.
recognizing that like the state.
The chair would entertain a motion to change our holiday document from Columbus Day to Cabrini Day.
Do we have public comment still?
No, we moved the holiday. We didn't, the day off is what we moved. We didn't move the name of the holiday. And I believe the chair is asking if we are going to change the name from Columbus Day to Xavier Cabrini Day. And I think it's an appropriate question.
Do we have public comment still?
I understand.
Again, I would ask, what is the group's pleasure about this?
I move that we eliminate from our holiday schedule Columbus Day and institute Xavier Cabrini Day to comply with the state law.
Are we still having public comment?
Hold on. You will be allowed to have public comment, but not yet. Is there a second to the motion? I will second the motion.
I want to hear what we just
Hold
passed.
on. It's been moved and seconded that we strike Columbus Day on the county's holiday schedule and insert Cabrini Day. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, on October 5th.
That's already been decided. That has nothing to do with it. It's only about the name.
That's why I
Is
wanted
that
to
your
hear how you
motion?
wrote down as part of the discussion. You seconded it.
Is that your motion, sir? Do I understand you correctly to change the name?
I retract my motion.
Okay, the motion is withdrawn. What's the group's pleasure?
What did we pass? Read what we passed. How you wrote it.
I just assumed that we passed, we're not gonna have Columbus Day on the 12th, we're gonna have Cabrini Day on the 5th. That's what I thought.
And that was not what happened.
Correct.
technically what has happened was we voted to change the date from October 12th to October 5th.
Correct.
That's it, to align with other holiday observers within the state.
I believe.
Then, in my opinion, this is a separate issue. I would have, at least I would have called for division of the question because I think it's two different issues. I don't have a problem observing the 5th as a holiday. I may have a problem what we call that holiday. Those are two different items consideration. That's why I approached it with the motion that I did, was to change the date by itself. Because I believe we need to align with what I think is going to be the majority of the state entities that observe this holiday is going to be on the 5th. What they call it and what we call it, to me, still was up in the air.
So if you don't call it Francis Cabrini Day, what are you gonna call it?
I'm assuming it'll stay as Columbus Day.
But Columbus Day isn't on. We should have just left it on the 12th. Just my,
And I believe differently. I don't think we should have left it on the 12th because I think every other holiday, every other entity in the state is going to observe the 5th as a holiday. And I don't think that'd be fair to our families. Yep. If that's what we decide, yeah. And they, just like we looked at other states that don't even observe this holiday at all, right? 25 of them. So which we thought was kind of odd. This date as a holiday, Columbus Day or Cabrini Day, the 12th.
There's a lot of people, a lot of public agencies and other agencies. But it's a federal holiday. It's the law. It's a Colorado.
You're not part of the conversation.
I would move that we change, strike Columbus and insert Cabrini. Is there a second? And the chair would remind, if there's not a second, it will stay as Columbus Day on October the 5th until another motion comes before the group.
We did not move Columbus Day. We acknowledged a holiday that the state set up. We didn't move Columbus Day.
No, we have not. That's why I made the motion.
Well, we just acknowledged in that motion, I believe, we acknowledged Cabrini Day or whatever it's a holiday.
Well, I don't know what we acknowledged, but I can tell you what we did, and that was change the date from October the 12th to October the 5th.
That's what. Okay. The way I understood what we did is we moved the county holiday from the 12th to the 5th to comply with the holiday schedule that the state has put out. Stop right there. That's the way I interpret it, and I could be wrong, and I'll admit if I am. However, the question also is, should we change the name also as a second issue? And I concur with Chairman Flower that that is a second issue that ought to be discussed. So if we do nothing, we have moved our county holiday to the 5th. Now we can say all the reasons why, but we don't have to. We just agreed to move it to the 5th. Now, do we want to continue to call it Columbus Day? Do we want to call it Indigenous Persons Day? Do we want to call it Black Lives Matter Day? Do we want to call it Francis Cabrini Day? What do we want to call it? I mean, and that's a fair question.
Motion dies for lack of a second. All right, we'll move on.
Thank you.
It will stay as Columbus Day.
Do we have public comment yet?
No reason.
Yes, you may. We do not have a motion on the floor.
Lisa Frank, I just wanted to say, suddenly the state has no problem with separation of church and state. We now have a Catholic nun day. Period.
Appreciate
That's
your
it.
comment.
Restate
Anything
it?
else?
Oh. No, nothing else.
Okay. Other public comment, although we do not have a motion in front of the group. Okay, thank you. Next item of business is consideration of the hiring process for Human Resource Finance Assistant Director. We have been making strides in this effort. I'm sure, gentlemen, you have taken the time to read those two documents. What's the group's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we publish, first of all, we approve, it's double motion.
Let's handle them one, well, depends on your motion. Succinct, please, yeah.
I'll say it however it comes out. I move that we approve the job description as presented and move forward in the hiring process by publishing and soliciting for job applicants.
That's good. I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the job description and authorize publication of a vacancy announcement for the position of the Human Resource Finance Director. Further discussion?
Director assistant.
Director assistant, sorry, or assistant director, actually.
Thank you.
Thanks for correcting me there. Further discussion? I think Donna's done a good job on this. We need to move forward with this and get some traction behind that, so. Any further discussion, gentlemen? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion to approve the job description and publish the vacancy announcement, say aye. Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I will speak with Ms. Donna about that. We'll get that moving forward. Should come out next week. Okay. The next item of business is consideration of the vacancy announcement for the part-time maintenance and groundskeeper. Commissioner Prince, did you get the letter of resignation?
I did.
And Commissioner Candace, so you guys are aware. Do you know what his last day is?
I do not.
No.
17th.
Thank you.
Yep. So as of Friday,
Like
we no
Friday.
longer have a maintenance groundskeeper or scale operator.
I move that we immediately move forward with the job description currently in place for the part-time maintenance groundkeeper and solicit for applicants to fulfill the vacancy.
I'll second the motion. Been moved and seconded to move forward with the vacancy announcement for the part-time maintenance groundskeeper. I think that was 20 hours a week. Donna gave us updated versions of both the vacancy announcement and the job description. Did you have a chance to look at those?
I
Yep.
did.
Further discussion?
Looks good.
Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Commissioner Candace?
Aye.
Commissioner Flower votes aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We will post that vacancy announcement for part-time maintenance and groundskeeper. Yes, sir.
If I may, just an adjunct to that. By the way, a stranger walked in the room. Good morning, sir. In the interim, if we need to, I would like to recommend that we engage the services for a fee for someone to maintain the grounds until we can fulfill that position.
I think it's a good suggestion.
So
I do
you're
not have
suggesting
time to
putting
do
out
it.
another announcement to get somebody? Is that what you're proposing?
Sorry, sir.
How are you proposing to do that, Jake?
Well, I'm hoping maybe we have people over at the jail that may volunteer. We've done that in the past
Before.
in the interim. However, if we can't find a volunteer, I'd like to authorize that we spend the money to hire someone to maintain the grounds until we have a replacement in place. I just don't want us to I don't want it to go unattended.
Right. I guess my opinion would be I would volunteer to take on that task of finding somebody, but I will not volunteer to go through this whole monkey routine of posting an interim job position to
Right.
take. I don't want any part of it. So
I just want to hire.
if you're fine with authorizing me to find somebody to do the work between now and when we hire somebody, I will make every attempt to do that. But I'm over this whole thing of jumping through hoops when it's absolutely not necessary and totally inefficient.
Absolutely agree.
So you're gonna talk to Shannon first, see if jail's
If you
available.
authorize me to do that, I will explore all the
Logic.
avenues.
Yeah.
10 minutes or so.
I think by consensus,
Thank you.
I'm one vote, and I say by consensus, please do that. I appreciate you volunteering.
Mr. Kander,
Yeah, same.
your thoughts? I will do that. Thank
Thank
you. Okay, next item of business is discussion of the
So-
road easement encroachment in the Greenwood tracks. Gentlemen, have you looked at the documentation that's been provided to us?
I did.
Okay. Of course, when we get here, Miss Kara stepped out of the room, so the timing is not great. I thought this gentleman was going to call in. I did not see him on Zoom, but let me go look. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn.
Do you gentlemen hear me? This is
Somebody's
Greg Lloyd.
on there now.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Greg Lloyd. I'm the one that asked to be on the agenda for the Greenwood Tracks encroachment.
Yes, sir.
You hear me okay?
Yes, and you have the floor.
Yeah, so I am asked to be on here for a clarification of some discrepancies. When I first brought this to the attention of the county, well, I first brought it to the attention of Mr. Pritz as I hired him for legal counsel on this, and he validated that the easement is a justified easement. So then I went to the zoning and planning and talked to Ms. Hobby and stated that my complaint about the encroachments on the easement. The easement is the only road access to my property. It's platted as a 60-foot easement. And she came back after she said she did some research and made a statement in an email that because it's a private road, the county does not maintain it, and therefore it's a private matter, and that the county doesn't have any jurisdiction. So then I went and tried to get on the agenda, and I got an email back from Mr. Smith, and he says he said in his email, I don't render legal opinions to private citizens, nor do the county commissioners, but he did state in his email that the Custer County zoning resolution is the land use law of Custer County and is the official policy of the county. And so I wanted to go through some things because I think there's some confusion. The issue I'm complaining about is encroachments, not road maintenance. And according to the zoning resolution, jurisdiction 1.3 states that this resolution applies to the unincorporated parts of Custer County. And it also states in the definitions that a road is either public or private right of way. So obviously it's not just public roads that we are referencing here. It's also private roads that the county has jurisdiction over. So I feel the county does have jurisdiction on this matter, unlike what Ms. Hobby stated. So now as we move on to the issue is I provided also a survey because Ms. Hobby said that in order to prove that there was an encroachment that I needed to provide a survey. So I had a survey done and you have a copy of it there. It shows two clear encroachments. One is the picture of the archway. That's right in the middle of the road. And that also violates the 50 feet distance from property lines, in addition to being an encroachment on the easement. The red building is also an encroachment by 16 feet into the easement, not even referencing the 50-foot setback from the boundary of the easement as stated in 6.2 of the zoning resolutions. So what I'm asking the county is to take a look at everything I've highlighted and the plats and the survey, and I feel that a violation needs to be rendered for these structures. Even the third one as I noted on their big barn, the porch of that barn falls within the 50-foot setback. But I'm not all that concerned about setbacks. That's a county issue, although there should have been a variance applied for that setback violation. But
there's 3 violations clear on that piece of property, and the county, according to section 12 of the resolution, has the responsibility to enforce the violations. And that's what I'm asking the county to do.
Okay, Commissioner Prince has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did speak to Mr. Lloyd as a private attorney about this matter and withdrew from representation when I recognized he felt that his issue was county related. As a result of that, I feel it's appropriate for me to recuse myself from any of the discussion or any decisions that may or may not take place based on his comments.
Okay, according to generally accepted standards, you're welcome to be part of the conversation if you want, but you can certainly recuse yourself from both. You don't have to either one, it's your choice.
I would like to recuse myself completely because I feel it's a violation of my ethical code.
Okay, let the record show that Commissioner Prince is requested to be recused from this issue. I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Lloyd.
Yes, sir.
Are you currently in a lawsuit in front of a judge?
We have a lawsuit that we have filed as to the recommendation of, at first, Mr. Pritz recommended that we try to go to the small claims / county court because it was a civil matter at the time, since the county had not, and I was misinformed on the jurisdiction. The judge ruled that it was out of her jurisdiction, and therefore we had to take the case to district court. Since I have not received any response from the county on this, I do have a lawsuit with district court. I would like to think that we could resolve this matter without going through that pain and expense of district court for all the parties involved. The building permit that I have a copy of, clearly there was misinformation provided, and it does state in that building permit that the landowner is supposed to have knowledge of all this setback stuff. But there was not a proper plot plan that was ever submitted, which allows confusion, I'm sure, on the part of Ms. Hobby as to the exact location of these structures. Now, the entryway, there was never a permit even pulled for that, and you can see the picture, but it's clearly a structure by definition of this resolution.
Okay. I would just tell you, sir, that your Zoom camera is pointed at your arm. If you would adjust that, that'd be fine. You don't have to by any means. I'm just letting you know that.
There, is that
All
better?
right, that's fine. Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure to have a face with a name.
I understand.
Okay.
I'm hearing my wife's having some surgery today, so she's in recovery, so I have to stay here with this mask on and use her internet.
Okay. So your request today of the commissioners, again, sir, if you would restate that.
My request is of the commissioners is as stated in section 12 of the county resolution, review and see that there are violations to the setbacks and encroachments of the placement of the 3 buildings that I have, or 3 structures that I have pointed out in the pictures I left with you, and to cite a violation with the 30-day correction of those violations as per section 12 of the zoning resolutions.
All right. And would you anticipate the county or yourself asking this gentleman to move all 3 of those structures?
The entryway needs to be totally removed. The building, I do not feel that moving the easement, the 60-foot easement, would allow proper clearance with the building. There are other boulders and other obstructions in there that but it certainly needs to be at least looked at to either replat and move the easement around that building if possible. But the building should never, the red building in the picture should never have been built, because if you move it, say to the west, you're now going to be 50 feet of a property line. So that portion of land that building was placed in, there's not adequate room for that building to ever have been put there with the setback requirements. But it wasn't properly disclosed to the county when the permit was pulled. As I look at there's just a little sketch of where a block is.
Correct.
There was no plot plan with measurements as per the requirement.
So if I hear you correctly, I appreciate the fact that you concede that the the zoning permit was issued based on the facts given to the planning and zoning office, which may or may not have been accurate.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So I guess to me, it's about a 2 or 3-fold question in front of the commissioners. Mr. Lloyd has asked us to cite a violation. I would ask Jackie if she believes, number one, is there a violation? And number two, if there is a violation, is it realistic or appropriate to ask somebody to come in for a variance? So Ms. Hobby is in the room with us, Mr. Lloyd. I've posed those 2 questions for her. We've not had a big conversation about these questions ahead of time, so she's hearing these for the first time.
You hear both questions, Jackie? Did you?
Okay,
Yeah,
I
again-
appreciate the fact that you recognize that based on the application, this is why this structure was allowed to be erected. I also believe that Mr. Lloyd, if you would agree to having the easement replatted, that to satisfy your and your neighbor's needs, that maybe that could be worked out between you and the existing new owners of the structure.
I have already put that out as a option. However, there are some boulders that have been placed on the other side of the road opposite of the building, and the owners at this point are unyielding in moving any of that stuff. So basically it chokes the road easement, which is a 60-foot easement, to 16 feet and change, maybe 18 feet at most. The entryway has to come down unequivocally. It was illegally put up, and it has to come down. It spans in the middle of the road, and it blocks and it chokes the road easement at just a little over 16 feet. And it also falls right on the property line. So it violates the 50-foot property line, and it is by definition a structure. It was erected.
Okay,
May I
yes.
interject? I want to just throw this out, Mr. Lloyd, that I also have an entry sign over my driveway. I can almost bet you that there is not an entryway or an archway in this county that is 50 feet off of their property line. Almost every entryway is erected near where the driveway intersects the county road. I just don't see that being a realistic issue. Now, I'm not questioning the size or anything else. I'm questioning about an archway being within 50 feet of the property line.
Well, like I said, sir, the setback is clearly an issue for the county. But the easement is not. That's a platted, and they can't put a structure in the middle of the easement, in my opinion. And it's not their driveway, it is the road. It looks like it's their driveway because they put the entryway there. But that road services 4 other households beyond that point.
Correct. So are you finished, Miss Jackie? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you with that thought, but Section 12.4 addresses complaints, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you believe as an aggrieved party that a violation or an apparent violation of the provisions of this resolution have occurred, you may file a complaint with the Planning and Zoning Office. You have done that, basically. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Planning and Zoning Office shall begin investigation within 5 business days of receiving a complaint. I believe that has been done. If Ms. Jackie is nodding affirmative. If violations are found to exist, the Planning and Zoning Office shall take appropriate legal action to have the violation remedied or the violator penalized. Any structure that is in violation of any part of this zoning resolution shall be required to be brought into compliance or removed. Council, do you have any input on this?
Well, I've got a few comments. I'm assuming that Mr. Lloyd can hear me.
Yes, sir, I can.
All
Yeah,
right.
he
First
said
of
he can.
all, let's just dispose of the issue about the archway. I understand what his complaint is, and I don't disagree with that, but that is not a structure. A structure has to be 100 square feet, so the archway is not something that required a permit from the county, and it's not in violation of the county zoning regulation as a structure. So
Okay.
the other thing is, when this was first called, Mr. Lloyd wanted to communicate with me directly. When he communicated with me, what he was asking for was a position statement from the Board of County Commissioners that he could use in his pending court case. And I told him that we do not issue position statements in pending legal matters. So that was my initial communication with him about it. I mean, and unless, when somebody submits a site plan to planning and zoning, Ms. Hobby necessarily does have to rely on their representation as to where structures are located with reference to property lines. And I've seen what was submitted there, and it showed it was, I think, 75 feet back from the property line. The structure that he's saying is in violation of the setback. Unless she actually requires somebody get a survey of exactly where the structure is going to be in relation to the property line, that's going to happen from time to time. People are either going to intentionally misrepresent the setback or are going to just make an honest mistake about it. It would seem at this point that a variance, and I mean, there appear to be some other solutions, but the other thing is that I noticed he wants enforcement. I'm not quite sure what he wants us to enforce, because actually the zoning resolution says that we can either pursue criminal or civil penalties. This would be something, assuming that the county was going to take action, would fall in the realm of a civil proceeding. And it says that we would file the civil proceeding in county court. This was already, the lawsuit he's got going is already initiated in county court. And county court determined he didn't have jurisdiction because it was a land use matter, and it got bumped up to district court. I could see that as a problem. We've never really had to go to court to enforce the penalties, or we have on a couple of occasions, but this one being a land use issue, I don't know that we can confer jurisdiction on county court when county court does not have jurisdiction. I mean, this is something we need to talk about while we're considering amending our zoning resolution. But at this point, since there is a legal action pending, I think that the county necessarily needs to defer to that and not step in and say, well, we've decided this, or we're going to take some action, because I think we could very well just get bounced again if we tried to initiate something in county court. So those are my observations. I haven't
All right.
seen all
We'll
of
go
the
to
plats
Jay
and
and then
everything
do-
else.
Commissioner Prince? All right, Commissioner Kanda?
Yeah, just real quick, because I know it's been covered. Jackie, you said you did react to the request to see and observe if there was a violation or not. What did you decide?
I based my reaction on what was submitted for the application. This subdivision is private easements and private roads where the county does not have any jurisdiction over it. And the recorded plat also says that the road is for the landowners. And so on a private road, it's usually handled like Mr. Lloyd is attempting to handle it. Now we have new owners.
Okay, so given that, and I agree, I agree with Clint. It seems to me that we have to let the court action that's pending continue and go from there.
And certainly not issue a position statement
Right.
on what we think the law is or how the judge should decide this case.
Mr. Lloyd, would I be correct in assuming that your major concern is the 16 feet encroachment into the easement of the one particular structure?
The 16-foot encroachment into the easement is one, and then I disagree with Mr. Smith. I'm reading in definitions and it says structure, anything constructed, erected, or placed on property or attached above or below grade. It does not say anything about 100 square feet. That falls under the definition of a building, and that's true. The structure did not require a permit, but it still falls under the jurisdiction of the county as far as the placement of it. It still can't be placed in an easement.
Okay, I think your point's probably well taken. I guess I'll follow up on Commissioner Kanda. Maybe I missed it. As far as planning and zoning office goes, do you view this as a violation?
If I have proof that that structure is in the easement.
Okay, and was
We
there a
do, it's
survey
in
done?
the plat or the survey I gave you. It's right there on,
Yes,
you
but
guys
that's
have a copy of the
a
survey.
survey that the county would have to do to prove, he had his own surveyor. He hired a surveyor to represent him.
Right,
That's because
And-
you asked me to do that, Jackie, on the.
That's correct.
You said I needed to do that, so that's what I did.
right. Okay,
So his surveyor stated that this structure is 16 foot inside a platted easement.
correct.
In the meantime, the original people that owned the property that put that structure there have now sold the property. So we have new owners.
Got it.
So the new owners did not cause this issue.
But the owners knew about the lawsuit prior to them buying the property.
Okay. I want to back up for a second, sir, if I may. Under definitions of zoning permits, I think council said that the property owners were not required to get a zoning permit for the structure, the archway. Zoning permit definition required for any structure in excess of 100 square feet. So they did not have to have a permit to put up.
I understand that,
Okay.
but it's
All
still,
right, I just wanted to
it still
clarify
falls
the 100
under the-
square feet.
right, that's, that, I realized that they didn't have to pull a permit
Right,
for the
okay.
structure, but it's still an illegal structure.
Okay. So as a citizen of our county, I realize you're doing what you believe is right and just. I agree with council. I'm not sure we want to get in the middle of this while it's pending in district court. If you feel differently, certainly welcome to convey that.
Well, I just feel that I would not be in district court if the county would exercise the enforcement of this resolution. If they would enforce it as it's stated, we would end up being able to drop the district court case.
Okay, if there's a variance to move the easement, would that infringe on any different property owners? If they moved it away from this
And they won't
structure?
do it.
Possibly,
Okay,
but then they'd have to build a road because the road already exists.
right. Gentlemen, any further comments, questions for Mr. Lloyd?
I do have one thing I want to correct because the statute or our zoning resolution tracks the language of a
Can you
statute.
cite where you're at, sir?
I'm looking at on page 103 of our zoning resolution,
Okay,
and I'm looking at county court actions for civil penalties for zoning violations. That is a Colorado statute, so it does confer jurisdiction on county court to deal with zoning violations for land use issues such as this. So I want to correct myself there.
okay.
The county court does have jurisdiction pursuant to this statute.
But according to Mr. Lloyd, county court sent this on to district court because they said it was out of their jurisdiction.
And
That's
I'm
be-
not, yeah. well, let
That's
him address
because
it.
it was brought to them as a civil matter, not a county matter.
Okay,
Again, if the county would do the enforcement, then the county court has the authority to back the county. But if the county doesn't, and it stays a civil matter, the county court doesn't have authority according to the judge, and therefore we had to go to district court.
okay,
Does that make sense?
yes. I don't get the feeling that a decision's going to become forthcoming in today's meeting, sir. I could be wrong with that. I don't know. If a commissioner wants to introduce a motion to some effect, the chair would certainly entertain that motion. Would you be amenable to, I don't want to say postponing that, but giving the commissioners and the attorney and the planning zoning additional time to try to decide what their approach
Let
would
me
be?
ask a quick question again.
Commissioner Kanda has a comment.
Just a quick one before we answer that. Jackie, this started a long time ago and, dates back to 2018 or beyond. How come it took this long to get to where we had to decide whether we had to do an enforcement action?
The permit was issued in 2013.
Okay.
I have no answer for that.
So it's been bubbling for a long time.
It's been
and
bubbling,
we need
but
some
at the time that this structure went up, I believe Mr. Lloyd and the neighbor were friends. Is that correct statement?
See if Mr. Lloyd's still on. Back on now? Okay, I'd gotten dropped, I thought so.
I think
Mr.
it's-
Lloyd, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can. So Ms. Hobby indicated that originally she believes that you and the original landowner were on a friendly basis. That may or may not be the case now.
That was correct. And even though I had made some verbal concerns about encroachments on other areas, it wasn't until the archway was built that it became clear that they had no intentions of honoring the easement. And that's when I started making more formal objections.
Okay. I had posed a question, and I think it was about the time your call was dropped, that would you be in agreement with allowing some more time for us to further investigate this? Are you strictly asking for a decision today, yes or no?
No, I just wanted to get everybody who has authority as per section 12 of the resolution to have knowledge of what the complaint is, so that we know that it's not just being compartmentalized and misunderstood in the zoning and planning department. Wanted to get it out on the table for the county attorney, as well as the Board of Commissioners, as well as Ms. Hobby with planning and zoning, so that everybody understands clearly what the complaint is and has the evidence
Theirs is bold.
the evidence in front of them, so that they could make a educated decision.
Yes, and I appreciate your approach here. I think you're exactly right, that to take the stance of, hey, I need to get my information in front of the commissioners and the attorney and the planning commission, so that there's facts on the table and not just a bunch of neighbors squabbling and who said what to who and so on and so forth. So if you concur, sir, I would recommend that the commissioners table this or postpone this until another meeting, so that we can continue to digest the information and make sure we're on sound legal footing, and that we represent both parties in this case as citizens of our county coming to the county commissioners.
Yeah, it was
I would
a
appreciate that.
discussion point anyway, so this has been a good meeting for that.
Mr. Lloyd, are you okay with that approach?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for your time. Commissioner Prince, you said you had a comment before we moved on.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I just want to make a comment for the record, stating that when I spoke to Mr. Lloyd, it wasn't a county issue at the time. Once it became a county issue.
I can't hear him.
I referred Mr.
Okay,
Lloyd.
is your microphone on?
Sorry about that.
Will you start again, sir?
I will. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Lloyd. I just wanted to state for the record that when I first met as a private attorney for Mr. Lloyd, I was under the impression it was just a dispute between landowners over an easement and some other issues. And that's why I engaged the services. He engaged service with me and I accepted it. Once I learned that it was a county was going to be involved, I vacated my representation. And in fact, I believe I asked Clint to look at some emails that were sent. And if I remember correctly, our county attorney said that, yeah, this is something that I should not be involved in as a county commissioner. So I recused myself, and I'm embarrassed to do that. I do it very rarely as a county commissioner because I try very hard never to mix private business with county business. So I just wanted to, for the record, state that I'm somewhat embarrassed that I'm not able to participate in this, and I appreciate y'all understanding.
Okay. Ms. Hobby.
Mr. Lloyd, this structure was built, and I have pictures of it in 2013 from the county assessor's office. They went and picked it up for property tax. And you did not start this complaint until 2018. Why did you wait so long?
Well, again, the building, I was not sure if it encroached on the easement. I knew nothing about setbacks because I just didn't know anything about it. It wasn't until the archway was built that then I started filing my complaints, only to then have the survey done as per your request, to then find that the building, yeah, it encroaches 16 feet, and the defendants in our case here refused to yield the distance the other direction with the boulders by moving the boulders. Does that answer your question?
Well, my question is that when I went up to look at the structures, the other structures, that the previous owner had erected on this property. He had conveyed to me that you and him were fairly good buddies, and then you got in this fight, and this was part of the fight that you were in. That it was fine until he decided that you and him were not friends. I'm a little dismayed that it took you this long after this is built, because I have a timestamp on the camera, and this structure was built in December of 2013.
So your
the-
questions, I'm
So
not
the
sure I understand.
archway is what sent you over the edge. Just speaking.
Well, that is what,
later.
that is when it became clear that we had a real obvious encroachment. Like I said, the building, I was not sure until I had the survey done at your request that it encroached. I knew it was close to the easement line, but I did not know exactly until the survey was completed.
Just a thought, sir. 60-foot easement, which I looked at the plat maps, pulled those up out of the files. If it's encroaching 16 feet, 60 minus 16 is 44. Is 44-foot easement adequate for you?
It can be adequate, but they won't move the boulders on the other side of the road. So it's not 44 feet, it's about 17 feet.
Okay, your point's well taken.
So
I've seen
again,
the
they have
pictures.
to capitulate. Huh? Excuse me,
Yeah,
sir?
I've seen the pictures and I appreciate what you're saying, sir, is all I was referring to. I guess what I'm getting at is if the other party would capitulate, maybe it wouldn't have to be replatted. Maybe they could physically move those boulders to make room so that both parties could avoid further action in district court.
That has been proposed, but no action has been taken and no agreement was placed.
Okay.
So
So
the defendants failed to yield on that, so I had no choice but to continue with the court proceedings at this point and
Okay.
to, again, bring it to you.
Right. So if the commissioners, the county attorney, and the planning and zoning director research this further, I would think it would make sense to maybe reach out to the other landowner and say, hey, we're trying to find a good solution for both parties here. Certainly, we're not going to act as a court, I don't think, but I think we need to do our due
Well, the
diligence.
archway again would have to come down. You can't get around the archway, and it's not going to yield you enough distance. The boulders, if they're moved, can yield enough distance around the building.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, from what I know, which is not a lot, I've tried to do my research before today. I'm a whole lot more prone to be concerned about the building than I am the archway. But again, your request was to look at the 3 violations in your opinion. Is that right?
Well, the one violation would just be a setback. That's your county issue. Again, I didn't write the resolution, nor did I enact it, but you folks did. So how you want to handle that, but it should have at least required a variance to be applied for zoning
Where do we
and
get the
planning a
variance from?
proper plat location.
Okay. Go ahead, Jackie.
I agree that a variance could be acted upon, but we're dealing with a new owner. We're not dealing with the person that did it. But are you stating that if the boulders are removed, that would satisfy your problem?
Boulders removed, the acknowledgement of the easement of 60 feet and the removal of the archway are basically the minimums of what we have to have done here. Because I nor anybody in the room that you're sitting in have the authority to take my easement. It is platted, it's law, and it's generations of land use for that property. The only real true solution so that it yields 60 feet.
Use.
Okay, you broke up a little bit there, sir, during that last statement. I think what Jackie is leaning towards, as am I, is to try to find a solution that, number one, wouldn't require buildings to be torn down. I think you and I both would agree that's pretty extreme.
Yeah.
However, if
Yeah.
the other party is unwilling to even come to the table and have a discussion, then the courts will probably do whatever they do. Commissioner Prince handed me a note that said that he believes that the other party needs to be part and parcel to these kind of discussions, and I agree with him. I want to say this publicly, that rather than interrupt your statement, he just slid me a note. I concur. I don't know about Commissioner Kanda. He's nodding his head in the affirmative. Would you be willing to meet with the commissioners again with the other landowners?
If they would sit in a mediation, yes.
Okay. I can carry this message as well with the commissioners on to the attorney, who obviously is listening. And we could try to get this on another agenda for an upcoming meeting.
Just for my clarification, it's Bill Kanda. How long has the new party been involved? Has it been a long period of time, and how long have they been in transit?
The initial lawsuit was filed in January of this year,
Okay.
sir, and they purchased the property in late May, and it was a cash purchase, so the title insurance was not required. Otherwise, there was no way that closing on the property would have ever happened. But the new owners, it is my opinion, had full knowledge that the lawsuit was pending when they purchased the property.
Okay, have you personally met with them, or have you just been exchanging?
No, sir, I
emails?
have not.
Okay.
I
Well, that's
have not
important.
met
If
with
you're going
them
to
at
come
all.
before us again together, you all need to talk, and you need to get a position that you both understand and explain it to us, because otherwise we're just going to send you back to the drawing board.
Can I?
Go ahead, counsel.
All right. First of all, I wanted to say Jackie was talking about, well, it's different property owners now. A land use violation would run with the land. So it doesn't matter that ownership has changed hands.
That's the way I interpret it.
Okay, I would like to know who is representing you, Mr. Lloyd, and who's representing the other property owners.
I have the legal firm of Robinson and Henry.
Where are they located?
They have an office in Denver and Colorado Springs. I can send you over their information if you like.
All right, well, I don't want to be giving legal advice or doing anything on a case where there are already attorneys involved in litigation. I agree we can certainly look into this, but if we're going to discuss this again, my recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners is we invite all of the parties to participate. If my recommendation to the county is that I think we should get involved in this case and try to enforce the zoning resolution in one or more respects here.
Counsel, I would ask, do you believe we'd be most efficient to do that in a special meeting?
I think it would certainly be easier. I think it'd be a little time consuming, and if we could just set this up as a special meeting, it would be easier to Zoom it, I would think, for one thing. And I would like to be able to communicate with the attorneys on both sides. I don't want to make any kind of comments to Mr. Lloyd, who's represented by counsel right now.
Okay, understood.
And I want to give the other side an opportunity to participate as well. But I think this does warrant further investigation by planning and zoning and by the county attorney to address some of the things that have been brought up here.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it would be much better suited in a special meeting than as an agenda item during a regular meeting's agenda. Gentlemen, would you confer with that or not?
Is this open for public comment yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, but we'll be.
Technically.
I am the other owner.
Okay, hold on, sir. We will get to you then.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
good to know.
Appreciate it. Go ahead, Commissioner Prince.
I'm just concerned that we do this outside the court's jurisdiction. This is in court right now, and I'm not sure we ought to be meddling in this case as it sits right now. I think if we're enjoined into the case, then we could be a party to the case, and then we could take whatever action we feel is appropriate. I'm just concerned about doing this. We're interfering with an ongoing lawsuit is what I have a concern about.
Okay.
And I'll defer to counsel if he feels that I'm off base, and I probably am, but that's kind of how I feel at the moment.
Okay. All right, Mr. Mullen, is that
Yes.
correct? All right. Let me just say thanks for being here. I did not know you were the other owner. I had different names from the plat map.
Yes, I'm the registered agent for Heaven's Guest Ranch, which is the owner of the property now.
Okay, sir. Well, the chair recognizes you. You have the floor.
Yeah, so I mean, couple things. I mean, there is a current lawsuit with a pretrial conference set for October 13th at 9 o'clock. We have never at this point refused to do anything. No, I have not personally been contacted to move anything. Our attorneys have been in contact with each other, and the question was raised there. Well, Geomark Survey is the company that did the Lloyd's survey. It was incomplete and missing development details, including the utility easement of 20 foot that goes right across the road. Per Geomark's notes, the client did not wish to research and show rights of ways and easements, if any, as a part of this land boundary survey other than a portion of the road itself, which was track 6. Every tract in there has possible encroachments, including the Lloyd's. There's a gate, they have wagon wheels and boulders in there that encroach. Every lot in there has, because the development was built in 94-ish. If you look historically at Google Earth maps, the road itself has not changed since the early 1990s. The encroachments that he's talking about as far as the pillars, there used to be 2 cattle guards that went across the road going to his property with fences coming up because there were cattle that ran through there. Those were 12-foot cattle guards. So at this point, the pillar is 17 foot 3 inches wide, and it's 13 foot 6 inches tall for a semi to get through. So as far as the actual road itself, nothing has encroached into the road for him to access his property.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Again, I apologize if I had known you were representing Heaven's Guest. I would have certainly recognized you earlier. My apologies.
And I do have a survey company but they're 3 weeks out that will be coming and doing my own survey because there seem to be some discrepancies on some of that as well. So, and it would, like I say, it was only a partial survey. They did not want to include all the other tract members. So again, it's limited just to us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to comment on that. It was a road survey. So it surveyed the road from the highway all the way through my property as per the plats. So it did survey the other properties. It just, again, the issue that we were concerned about with is easement encroachments are permanent structures. Yeah, there's fencing and other things that are in the easement, but they're not permanent structures. the structures that are on Mr. Or Heaven's Guest Ranch property now are permanent structures that are encroaching on the easement.
Okay. If, I just think to kind of bring us to some kind of a close here is that I would tell both parties that the commissioners and the attorney and the planning and zoning director will continue to look into this. I don't think we need to get involved heavily while it's pending in court. I would be interested to see what happens after a pretrial conference on October the 13th.
Yeah, I personally agree. And I agree with what Clint said. In court, needs to play out.
Okay.
Well, at least, until the pretrial conference and see whether they are going to set a trial date, if there is some sort of agreement reached, there very often is.
Right.
I understand that probably both sides would like to save a little money in attorney's fees, but it's inappropriate for us to jump in now and say, we'll handle it.
Right. Which I'm not proposing by any means.
Correct. Correct.
Gentlemen, are you in agreement with our plan to move forward?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I just had to make sure that, from my standpoint, that I have gone through the channels of the county appropriately by filing the complaint, bringing it to everybody's attention, showing discrepancies and where there was confusion. And so I just needed to get that out to you all.
Okay, understood. All right, gentlemen, thank you. Appreciate your time and attention. We will move forward, and I'm sure we will hear from one of you two after the pre-trial conference.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, gentlemen, any additional items to come before the commissioners at this time?
Excuse me, County Commissioners, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Wes Easton, and I'm one of the previous owners of the Heaven's Guest Ranch.
Okay.
And I just wanted to bring you up to date on what took place since we bought the place in 2012.
I don't want to hear.
The road when we bought the place was not near as good a shape as it is now, but it was there. And the Lloyds had driven up that road they told us, for 17 years. When we bought the place in 2012, the boulders that he's in objection to were there. I don't know when they were placed, but they were placed prior to us buying the property. And that we never got any complaints from them. When I bought the property, I observed the Lloyds and the Cox and whoever else having to go over cattle guards, which I saw to be very unnecessary and harmful to their vehicles. So at my expense, I pulled the cattle guards out and filled the holes with gravel. The one cattle guard was right where the ranch entrance is right now. The other cattle guard was up at the northwest corner of the property, in which the Cox and Lloyds had to cross every time they went in and out. I just see no reason for that. So those were 12 feet wide. And that didn't even mean anything to me. The thing was just get them out of their way. They weren't helping anybody. So then the barn was built, in which the Lloyds spent quite a bit of time at some of the party engagements that we had. And we also built the shed that he's in reference to. And I did follow the setbacks. I measured off of the fence line of the track west of us. I'm not sure the track number. And I built the building, okay? The road, the boulders, nothing has changed since we bought the place in 2012. There is not 1 foot of change in the width of the road unless it was made wider.
Okay,
When prior to the ranch entrance being built, Mrs. Lloyd texted my co-owner, Tracy Shannon, saying that she thought it would be a good idea,
oh, this is public comment. He's right, he has a right to speak.
that it was a good idea, and possibly later down the road, we could put solar powered gates on it, which would keep anybody and everybody out that didn't belong up there. So when I decided to, or was in the planning stages of putting up the ranch entrance, one of the neighbors had a modular home ordered. So I was concerned that there would be a problem of them getting their home. So I contacted the manufacturer, and the manufacturer said, you need to make it at least this wide. So it was like 12 feet wide, 13.6 high. I wasn't happy with that. So I built it 17, the opening is 17 feet wide, and the crossbar is at 15 feet high. And the top thing is easily removable in case somebody needed to bring in a 20-foot high object. I don't know. Anyhow, so I have taken everybody's I took everybody's consideration in if I made any changes or any buildings or anything like that. At one point in time, we were having problems that there was a lot of snow, a lot of ice, and the Lloyds were unable to safely run their tractor up and down their 10% driveway. So I allowed them to keep it in the shed that he's in,
Okay,
that he's having a fit about.
could
The
you,
boulders that he's talking about, I think the closest part between any of the boulders is like 20 feet.
okay. Can you tell us the size of the structure, the garage or the shed as you referred to it?
Yes, it's 30 by 30. And
30 by 30.
And since you brought that up, there is large discrepancies on the figures of the Lloyd survey versus the original one when Vern Estes subdivided the tracts.
Okay,
I just want to say one other thing. After this has all been taking place and doing a lot of studying, between the Highway 96 and Greg Lloyd's home, the narrowest passage that he has to get through is his own gate at 16 feet wide. And I don't think I have anything else to say. Thank you for listening.
oh, you're welcome, sir. Okay, other public comment before we adjourn our meeting today?
I have just one more comment. We do have a note from other tract owners that have to access this road, just stating that they have no problem with it and they're happy with the way everything is right now.
Yeah, okay. Well, it sounds like a lot of the comments today were probably stuff that's going to go before a district court judge at some point, but thank you to all for your input and at least educating us to some of the issues. All right, other general public comment? Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Kenda,
Aye.
meeting's adjourned.